The acrid smell of burnt rubber and gasoline was the first thing that hit me. A punch to the gut that stole my breath. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. I watched from the window, frozen, as the flames licked the side of my beloved old truck. A crimson monster consuming the metal I'd spent years restoring. The woman responsible, HOA President Karen Jenkins, stood just yards away, a smirk playing on her lips. The can of gasoline still in her hand, as if she'd just watered her prize-winning petunias. She looked directly at me, a silent, vicious promise in her eyes that this was just the beginning. I felt my chest tighten, a primal roar trapped in my throat. What had I ever done to deserve this? She had complained about the truck for months, said it was an eyesore and violated community standards, but this was a line crossed with a vengeance. A declaration of war that echoed with the sizzle and pop of melting steel. My heart pounded against my ribs. A frantic drumbeat of disbelief and rage. I couldn't just stand there, watching my hard work turn to ash. This was personal. This was a battle for my home, my peace, and my sanity. And I wasn't about to lose. My hands balled into fists, knuckles white, as a chilling calm settled over me. She wanted to play with fire. I would show her a different kind of fire, one she couldn't extinguish with a garden hose. My neighbor, Sarah, a sweet old lady who lived across the street, was already on the phone with the fire department. Her voice a frantic, high-pitched buzz. "Oh, dear Lord, look at that," she whispered to herself, her hand trembling. My hands were steady, though. I had a plan. This wasn't about an eye for an eye. It was about justice. Served cold and slow. I grabbed my phone. Not to call the police yet, but to open an app. A simple security camera feed that I had installed months ago after she'd started leaving passive-aggressive notes on my windshield. The video was rolling. A crystal clear, time-stamped record of her criminal act. I had her, red-handed. The little digital file was my first match, and I was about to light a bonfire under her smug little life. What a fool she was. To think she could get away with this. Didn't she know we all had a camera these days? Didn't she realize the world was watching? The next day, the entire neighborhood was abuzz with whispered conversations and horrified glances. Karen Jenkins, of course, was telling a completely different story. "I was just checking on the truck," she said, her voice dripping with feigned concern during a tense HOA emergency meeting. I saw the smoke and tried to help, but it was too late. My stomach churned with disgust as I listened to her lies. Her performance so convincing that some of the older residents nodded along in sympathy. "It's a tragedy," she lamented, dabbing a dry eye with a pristine tissue. But I wasn't there to argue. I wasn't there to defend myself. I was there to present the facts. The meeting room was stuffy, the air thick with unspoken tension and the cloying scent of cheap perfume. I let her finish her little speech. And when she was done, I stood up, not with a shout, but with a quiet confidence that made her flinch. "I believe there's been a slight misunderstanding. Carol," I said, my voice low and steady. I held up my phone, connecting it to the big screen TV on the wall. A gasp rippled through the room as the grainy, damning footage played for all to see. The video showed everything: her arriving, her pulling the nozzle on the gas can, the flick of her lighter, the instantaneous explosion of flames, and then her hateful, triumphant smirk as she walked away. The fire department confirmed it was arson. I continued. And this video, time-stamped and clear, shows who started it. She went pale, her smug expression dissolving into a mask of pure terror. That's been altered. It's a fake," she screeched, her voice cracking. But it was no use. The truth was undeniable. That's when my second ace in the hole, an unexpected ally, stepped forward. This was the person I hadn't even known about. My sweet neighbor Sarah. I saw it too. "Carol," she said, her voice small but firm, "I saw you light that truck on fire. You were furious because he parked it a foot over the property line." My jaw dropped. I had no idea about the property line. The real motive wasn't the truck's aesthetics, but a petty, power-hungry squabble. The room erupted. Whispers turned to shouts. And suddenly, Carol wasn't the powerful HOA president anymore. She was just a pathetic, unhinged woman caught in a lie. My gaze met hers, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Not just the fleeting surprise of being caught, but the dawning horror of what was coming next. The confrontation that followed was a storm of raw emotion, a cacophony of accusations and justifications. Carol, now visibly shaking, tried to regain control, her voice spiraling into a high-pitched shriek. You people don't understand. He broke the rules. The rules are all we have. I was just enforcing them. This is an overreaction. The hypocrisy was staggering. My blood ran cold, then hot with a righteous fury I didn't know I possessed. Burning a man's property to the ground is enforcing the rules. I shot back, my voice resonating with a quiet intensity that cut through her hysteria. You have crossed a line, Carol, a criminal one, and you think it's an overreaction when you're caught. I sighed, a long, weary exhalation that felt like releasing years of pent-up frustration. This isn't about my truck anymore. It's about a pattern of harassment, a pattern of bullying and a deep-seated contempt for anyone who doesn't live by your skewed version of order. I pointed to the apathetic, silent members of the board who had enabled her. And all of you. You let her do it. You gave her the power. You are just as responsible for this toxic environment. The silence was deafening. The air crackled with the sheer weight of my words. It wasn't a shout, but it was heard by everyone. A sudden, unexpected voice broke the tension. It was Mark, another neighbor, a quiet man who usually kept to himself. He's right, Mark said, his voice surprisingly strong. She once threatened to fine me because my lawn was a quarter-inch too long. She makes this neighborhood hell for everyone. One by one, other neighbors started to speak up, sharing stories of her cruelty, her arbitrary rules, her constant meddling. The dam had broken. Carol stood there, alone, her face a blotchy, tear-streaked mess, her empire crumbling around her. Her reign of terror was over. The very people she had tried to control were now her accusers. The legal fire was swift and merciless. The police, armed with the video and multiple witness statements, arrested her that very evening. The HOA board, in a desperate attempt to save face, immediately voted her out of the presidency and stripped her of all her power. The lawsuits came next, a torrent of legal documents from me and several other neighbors. The cost of my truck, the emotional distress, the months of harassment, it all piled up. Her legal fire had ignited a real one, and the legal system was happy to fan the flames. Her once pristine, perfectly manicured life was now a smoking ruin, a testament to the destructive power of hubris. I saw her a few months later, not in the driver's seat of her luxury sedan, but on a bicycle, a tired, defeated look on her face. Her house, the symbol of her power, now had an ominous "for sale" sign in the front yard. Her neighbors, once a source of her authority, now gave her a wide berth, a look of contempt or pity in their eyes. She had lost everything she had used to lord over others. The very community she had tried to control had spit her out. The quiet neighborhood, for the first time in years, finally started to feel like a home again. I didn't cheer, though. I didn't feel a sense of triumph. I just felt a profound sadness. What a waste. What a terrible, senseless waste of a human life. All for the sake of a misplaced sense of control. In the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding. The neighborhood, shaken by the incident, came together. We elected a new HOA president, a kind woman who focused on community and communication, not on petty rules and fines. My truck, though gone forever, was replaced with a new one, purchased with the settlement money and an overwhelming GoFundMe campaign the neighbors had started. The experience had been a crucible, and we had emerged stronger, more connected, and more vigilant. We learned that the rules are there to protect us, not to be a weapon to control us. We learned that silence in the face of injustice is complicity. The memory of the fire still lingered, a haunting echo of what happens when power goes unchecked. but it no longer held the same bitterness. It was a reminder to never let it happen again. We had all seen the darkness, and now we were basking in the warmth of a new light. A new beginning. Tell me, what do you think? Did I go too far? Or was my response of fighting fire with legal fire a justified measure?